Join Dalton and Jacob as they discuss the ever-changing world of trading card games. TCG Buzz starts now.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Dalton, back at it again with Jacob.
Hello.
Seem a little dark over there.
Maybe our lighting's kind of weird today. Please bear with it.
Yes, you're me, and I am
apparently, my finger slipped on the button. We have a fun discussion for you guys today, but before we get into it, I just wanted to make a quick little plug. We released a 4-player Buddyfight match today, and it was awesome. And if you haven't checked it out yet, please do so. It's great. Right, Dalton?
It was rigged. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Don't give them spoilers, man.
It was just rigged. That's all I can say.
All right.
That's all I can say.
Can you tell us what we're doing here?
I don't know. What are we doing here today?
Well, the thumbnail says we're doing, let's see, the thumbnail and title, the title is Buddyfight BCS 2019 Meta Deep Dive. I prefer Deep Dish. It's because I'm fat.
Nice. So yes, we're going to talk about how the meta might shake up now that regionals are approaching ever so more. So we got, what's the first one? Chicago, right?
Chicago is the first, and they stretch from August to November, I believe. I don't think there are any in December. I might be wrong on that. You guys can check the dates. Hopefully you already have.
I think there was one in December.
Maybe.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
So yeah, I'm hoping that this discussion, this analysis of the meta, can help some people out there maybe get their first top 8, or at least help them decide what they're playing. Dalton and I have been participating in Buddyfight regional tournament since what? The start of 100 was our first?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. So we're pretty well versed in the ebbs and flows of the Buddyfight meta. And this upcoming meta is shaping up to be very interesting, especially since we've got some major set releases right in the middle of regional season that are going to shake things up.
Very true.
So before we get into it, I just want to say, please like this video, subscribe, all that stuff, and please, we have super chats if you'd like to support us, keep the lights on, the very bright lights on, or you can support us on Patreon.
Sounds fair. But what? So we got Chicago starting on what, the 24th of August, right?
Is it the 24th or 25th? Because I can't remember if it's on
Sunday.
day 1 or day 2.
Well, I'm just talking about the tournament.
Right.
General starts then. And we got War of Dragon coming out that Friday.
Yeah, so Bushiroad's been doing some very strange things with the Chicago regionals in particular. If you may or may not remember the previous regional for not the team league, the one before that was the week before the first Ace set came out, so no one got to play it, and it was really awkward and weird. Now it is the flagship release weekend of War of Dragons, a set we've already done an overview of that we thought was pretty good, right? If a little straightforward of a set, but that introduces some really important new cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
What? You got Magma Horus, you got Blizzard Horus, you have what's her name? The 5th Omni SD card. Can't think of her name right off the top of my head. More
Arkanoid or something? Is that her name?
No, there's no O in it.
Whatever her name is.
Yeah.
The new 5th Omni size 0.
I like calling her Sandstaff because that's what her original card was. But what else? More Garga stuff. A new Hero Fairy as well, which should be interesting. That's just to name a few.
There's even a little bit of support for the sword deck in Legend World, mixed in kind of. I think there's a little bit for it, but not much. right?
No, I wouldn't
not
say
really.
so.
I suppose not.
Like technically it's supposed to, but it doesn't really work.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because the people who are going to the first couple regionals, when War of Dragons is out, but before Blazing Overclash is released, are going to feel a little odd about that because Blazing Overclash, once we get to it, is going to really shake things up. For now, I'd say Legend Dragons look really good. Would you agree with that?
Well, of course they look really good.
I think a hero deck, if someone can get it right, could do very well because they've got
wait. Let's clarify. Non-sword focused hero deck.
Yeah, one that actually runs monsters. You have the new boss card, Fairy card, the Fairy King, and then you've got the other monster who's also really good that restands things. They've got a shot, I think. I also think Demon Dragons are okay, I guess. I don't know. When I think about I want to play Darkness Dragon World, I think there are a lot of other decks I'd rather play in a regional event, but they are the new shiny thing, so I'm sure some people will play them. What do you think about that?
All I have to say is it should have got a trial deck as well. That's all I'm going to say. Should have got a trial deck. Would have been nice. Would have been nice.
I'm thinking about all the decks released before this because we are going from the last regional season, which was one of, if not the widest regionals metas we've ever had because so many different decks were viable. I mean, you had so many. Everything out of Violence Vanity and Golden Garga, plus a bunch of interesting other decks, even some decks that got legacy support from, Buddy Lineage that were relevant. This regional season, I think at least half of those decks are still going to be relevant. Not all of them, though. Some of them just never got their second wave of support, which is going to push them aside, I think. And some of them just aren't as good as they were as a meta choice then. Would you agree with that?
I wouldn't really agree with how you put it. I would say it's more with the sets that have come out afterwards have either come out with cards that stop decks or slow them down at the very least. And it's been scaring people away from those decks from playing them. Like Max Dragons is a great example because of Fortress Wall.
Right. Max Dragon was one of the boogeymen of the last regional season, the Team League season. Pretty much every team was running at least, not at least, one Max Dragon player. It was very common. I'd say like easily 50% plus of teams had a Max Dragon player. The other boogeyman deck being Dimension Dragons, which have pretty much been consistently good since their release. How do you think they fare as a Dimension Dragon player?
I'm a Dimension Dragon player?
Well, you have a deck for them.
That's a different story. I just go on autopilot, so it's hard to say. Just kind of run through it.
They did get some really good support in Draw Night. It was not my...
Yeah.
It was...
I have to remember.
It was good. And obviously Lost World is pretty much as good as it's ever been.
Yep.
So I see them still being quite the threat, I feel. I don't know what you think about that.
Oh, they're always going to be a threat, and it's basically resource.deck. So as long as you can do it, everything's possible.
I feel, and I don't really know what the reason is per se, but I feel we're entering a slightly slower meta, which is weird.
How many ticks?
Not many, one or two. I feel like there are enough decks that can hold their own now and don't just and then they're done. A lot of your current decks have good staying power and can draw out a fight if they need to, though many of them will prefer not to. Whereas I feel like a lot of our more relevant decks last season needed to get things over as quick as possible. No,
I disagree with that. I think it was a fair mix in the last one. Yes, you had your aggro decks, but you also had your mid-range as well. You didn't have too many wall decks, but there were a few.
Shadow Shades. Shout out.
Max Dragons was the go-to there.
No,
but
man. Shadow
nice
Shades
strat.
are better, man.
Things to that nature. Now I think it's going to be more aggressive. So I think you're completely wrong on that. I think it's going to be more hyper aggro than anything else.
We also have some stuff that hasn't been factored in the English format yet, particularly the Conan sets. Their set and its trial decks. None of the Conan stuff has had a chance yet to see play in English, so I'd like to discuss that briefly. But also, I'd like to use that as a time to mention the Japanese format, because a lot of players like to look at the Japanese format using Twitter tags or lists they find somewhere to see how it's doing. And I will say that that's a good way to look forward to your meta, but it's not perfect. There are plenty of decks that do really well in the Japanese formats that never see play here, and vice versa. They are surprisingly different formats because we have a lot of cards that don't get released here that they get, but also because the game tends to be played a little bit differently. We emphasize the sideboard and we emphasize counters to other decks a lot more than the Japanese format does, as an example. Yeah. But how do you think the Conan sets are going to do?
That was the weirdest way to hand it off to a person I've ever heard in my life.
I know.
Conan, it's hard to say. Based off like some of the stuff that I've seen from Japan, they started off hot, they got some cards eroded, and then proceeded to kind of slowly fade out. Obviously, there's half of the Blazing Overclash out already. Over there in Japan, you also have, I think, Bang Dream, Girls Party, something.
Pico.
Pico.
And then you got the Idol Master set.
Idol Masters is also out. So, like, they basically have all the crossover sets out in Japan, so it's hard to say. They might still do decent. It's really hard to say on that fact just because I don't know how aggressive they are, because I think that's going to be their major factor to see if they can really do anything in the meta here.
It's an interesting thing with these crossover sets, and we'll address the Bang Dream set once we're at the point that it comes out as well. But you have to really think about if you're going to play them or not, because of the fact that they can't run generic cards or Lost World.
Yeah, nobody really cared about that.
Well, yeah, but it is an interesting balancing factor for them. They can get stronger support because they're so contained, but they have very little when it comes to sideboard options or counters to other decks. So generally you're going to be looking at a lot more linear of a fight, so I think they're probably a good thing for beginners. Like if you're wanting to jump into the regional season for the first time, it's probably actually a good idea to play one of the crossover sets. I don't know how you feel about that. You don't have to worry about getting loyalties or Lost World decks.
I disagree because I feel like the crossover sets are meant for a niche of people. I don't know how easy Conan is. I haven't built a deck for it at all to try to test it out or anything like that. But it kind of depends on the easiest deck to pilot from meta-wise, which in my opinion might be Garga or even Asha's base. We're not trying to go like hyper aggressive meta versions, but like kind of base versions of the decks would be a better fit for newbies. But that's a different story. That's a different topic and all that.
Another thing to consider is you have a lot of players who just pick whatever the best thing in the format is to play. Your Dimension Dragon players of previous formats, your Max Dragon players of previous formats. I'm not saying all of them, but there are a lot who just pick them up because they were the best deck of the format. And I see a lot of those players gravitating towards Legend Dragons.
What word did you just use?
Gravitating?
That's not what I heard. I'm sorry.
Okay. I see them going towards Legend Dragons, or sticking with Dimension Dragons if they built that, because they're still good. I don't see a lot of that. I think the Conan set's going to be weird because it was not received nearly as well here as it was in Japan, which I think is kind of a double-edged sword, because I think less people are going to play it because of that, but those who play it are going to do a little bit better because people are less prepared for it.
I think that's maybe a stretch. I think people are going to be prepared for it because all they're going to think is, well, it probably plays like this blank deck from this game, or it plays like this deck in Buddyfight type deal. So it's kind of, people can always be prepared. That's what I'm trying to get at. So it's hard to say and all that stuff. But kind of going back to War of Dragons and how that's going to shake up Chicago, because that's this whole point, I believe. Legend Dragons, I think, are going to be a very expensive deck. I don't want to move my mic, Jacob. Do you understand? I do not want to move my mic.
Wow.
Are you happy with this?
No.
Are you happy?
No.
But
balance, man.
But with Legend Dragons, I think it's going to be kind of the same thing as ECs for Team League, where it comes out and it's going to be like, if you have to build it that day or the night before, it's going to cost you maybe $400, $500. Just kind of being rough on that. Garga might be a little cheaper.
Now, there is the budget option of just buying 2 trial decks and smashing them together.
Yes,
which I think would actually be pretty effective.
This is true, but I was talking about more meta. I was
Right.
talking more from the more meta.
Oh yeah, I know what you're
niche
saying.
players type deal.
The full complete deck.
Yes. But yes, at the same time, if you don't have the money or you don't want to spend the money, 2 trial decks, maybe 3. I don't really know. I don't know the ratios in the trial decks. Might work out as well too. So that's gonna be play testing is gonna be really nice. You know, there's Buddyfight area that you can use. I think there might be another one that's online that I haven't used since like 5 years ago, but it exists.
Certainly, I feel this the meta of War of Dragons is going to be a lot more straightforward than what we've previously seen and what's going to be coming after it, because the set itself is very straightforward. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we move on to the big one?
Trying to think what you have. Garga. Oh, can't forget about Fifth Omnis. Even though we kind of talked about one of the cards, Fifth Omnis. Fifth Omni players, you always get that support that just shoots you right back up into it, don't you?
How many
Don't
seasons
you
have they been meta?
Too many. Too many. I love it, though, because that just means more drum, but that's besides the point. So, off to the next one. We're talking about Blazing Over Clash, correct?
Yes. And,
All right. So,
I'm
I'm just
okay.
going to try to give the information out. Based on where we find the information, September 13th is when it comes out. The tournament that happens that weekend is in Canada, Richmond, September 14th through 15th. So they're going to have a really interesting...
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
That'll be an interesting tournament.
Ooh.
I want to try and save some of our thoughts on the set for our actual set review.
Mhm.
Getting close to being able to do, because I think as of today, when we're doing this, all the cards are revealed. Finally.
Hopefully.
Maybe someone double check that. I don't know. But Dalton and I have in private talked about this set a lot, and it just busts the meta wide open and does some crazy things with it. I think the only way we're going to be able to get through this with some semblance of organization is to split the set in half into its 2 pieces.
Oh, God, please don't do
I
that
know.
to me.
And talk about the Chaos versus Thunder Empire side first. First thing I'm going to say is I was not all that impressed by the Thunder Empire support. How do you feel about that?
I'm trying to remember what the Thunder Empire support is.
Right.
They have a lot of good reprints coming out for Thunder Empire. It does seem like they're kind of not really focusing on the three amigos, the three gal buddies, as much, even though they do have some hints at it. And there are some other good cards, but it also looks like far more, I'd say, Dragon World focused, even though you do obviously get your other cards in Darkness, Hero, Katana, yada, 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 yada.
I feel like they kind of use the Thunder Empire side to support other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the new Abigail's pretty cool, but like that's not really designed for them. There's a new Thora in it that's really cool.
Yeah.
Believe me, we'll talk about Prism Dragons later. Chat was already asking about it.
Are they even good, though?
Oh, we'll get to that. I feel like they used it more as support for other things.
The roundabout way to support other things without it being too awkward.
I feel like if you're already a Thunder Empire Fangs fan, it's a good idea to pick this stuff up and play it, but I don't think it's going to convert anyone to playing it. Do you agree with that?
Convert.
Like, I've never played Thunder Empire before, but now seeing this support, I'm gonna.
That's hard to say. I don't know.
All right, what about the Chaos side?
No, that's...
Start with the Chaos itself, I guess.
Oh, jeez. You got the list?
Oh, no.
I would need the list in order to be able to talk about that.
Well, let's just say the Chaos stuff looks good.
Solid reprints. One questionable one that I think of, but that's my own vendetta on it. But otherwise, Plague stuff, since they're all Chaos cards, fantastic. Dual Golem stuff. Draw Golem's fantastic.
Someone's asking in the chat what tier Demon Dragons are going to be. Now, typically, I'm not much of a like organize in tiers thing, but Demon Dragons are at best tier 2, and they're going to drop like a stone once Blazing Overclash is out. So if you're playing them before then, play them. If not, don't. I think Chaos is going to be...
I wasn't done.
Okay, sorry.
The Leviathan
he's...
is very questionable because yes, you can run it in normal Leviathan decks, but I would question your sanity almost because it doesn't seem like it fits too well.
Yeah, I would say of the other decks that were supported using the Chaos side, outside of actually playing the Chaos, it got the weakest support.
I think they only had the Leviathan for their support.
Maybe. I don't...
I can't remember exactly. Obviously, Onis keep getting great bloody cards that keeps increasing the deck size. Kind of glad I got rid of the deck when I did because that was a headache to just get all the right ratios because they're getting another fantastic draw spell. That I might want to double check to see how generic it is, but that's besides the point. Are they getting a new Ibuki? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure they are, but
Probably.
Onis always get good cards. It's just they have so many. That's their problem.
And then who's next?
Oh, I guess we gotta talk about Wisdom, huh?
No.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about Wisdom's cards. I think that's it then for Blazing Overclash.
What? Maybe I missed it, but did you cover Plague?
Yes.
Yeah, you cover
Dual Golems.
I think you understated in that because I think Dual Golems are going to be really good.
I said the only important thing was the Draw Golem.
Maybe,
Oh,
yes,
it
but that one card's good enough on its own. Like, they're going to be a top contender, I really think. Plague, not as much, but they're still going to be...
Oh, you're on something, man.
Well, that's your opinion.
You're on something.
I think...
Mr. Magic World over here not believing in the Magic World.
I know, right?
Look at that. You're a lie.
Of them, I would say Dual Golems are the best. Now, let's move on to the other side.
Well, we can't really move on to the other side. We have to talk about the actual Chaos cards. The ones that
I already
are more
did. I said it's meh.
Meh. There's 2 different decks in Chaos. It's like, 3 different decks in Chaos.
No one's playing mini Gear Gods, my guy.
Challenge accepted. Challenge accepted.
And I think, honestly, I'd say the same for auto deities.
Whoa, what?
Yeah. I'm just throwing that out there, my opinion.
Jacob, you're on something. That's, in my opinion, arguably the best deck out of the three, with vanilla Chaos being second best.
Well, frankly, I don't think any of the Chaos decks are going to see all that much play. I think other decks are going to steal the show.
Sure.
I think people will build them as like their second deck that they bring with them to play in free fights and stuff. Honestly.
That is not a free fight deck. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll see.
I'm sorry.
Part of it is the other side of the set is probably the strongest singular booster set we've ever received. And we'll go through everything, but literally everything in it is good. I think every single deck that got support in this are viable.
One.
Besides what?
Besides one.
Which one? Oh, okay. We'll get into that. All right. So apparently everyone's afraid of Prism Dragons because that's the only thing I've heard.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Wait a minute. Back it up.
What? What?
We don't start there. We don't start with that world.
Fine.
We got to talk about Dungeon first. Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
All right.
Weird part about it, Folktale's getting supported, which is nice, but kind of awkward at the same time. Kind of like what the whole set's about.
I've been asked a couple times what that support's going to do for Folktale.
Apparently break into 2 decks.
Yes, you definitely have a more memey gimmick deck on the side, using the more like Alice in Wonderlandy cards.
I think that's going to be the more competitive one.
Maybe. I don't know. I can't say either way. But Folktale's support makes the good parts of Folktale better, but doesn't really fix their weaknesses, in my opinion. So I think it's a lot more viable than their first wave of support, but it's kind of like previous year's Danger World decks where like you're relying on your opponent not to have counters for your deck, and if they don't have a specific counter to shut your deck down, you just win, and if they do, you lose.
You know, I just realized we forgot to talk about one thing on the other side. Knights.
Yeah?
Because they're getting a huge boost.
Okay. Tell us about it. You've played Knights for quite a while.
But we're getting new El Quijote, which is going to be a fantastic card. Another item duo, which are both amazing. And I think there's a 4th card, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. Knights get a huge boost off of that. From what I've seen from Japanese lists, it's looking pretty nice, and I can't wait to play it myself. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Continue.
More Dungeon World. We're in Dungeon World still, right?
Yes.
Demon Lords coming out of
Jesus.
nowhere with amazing support.
Why? Why did you give them Chaos Territory? And what, doesn't he make everything else aside 0-2?
I think so. Oh my gosh. Demon Lords are going to be crazy, which is amazing. I love
Christian,
it.
be happy, my guy. Be happy. Oof. Just destructive, man.
Dungeon Mix. Can we talk about it for a second?
Or do you want to hit both key pieces beforehand?
Okay, go ahead. You lead us in.
No, I was asking. That was the question to you.
I'm wondering what the 2 key pieces are, is the challenge.
You have adventurers and
that's
what I'm getting at here.
Oh.
You want to talk about those decks first, or did you just want to go straight into it?
That's actually a good question because I do see adventurers still possibly being viable on their own, but not dungeon enemy on their own.
Like always.
Maybe construct though.
Whoa.
We'll get to it.
What you talking about?
Dungeon enemy are cool. And the mixed deck is going to be great. You got some killer cards revealed. you got some amazing supports. Shout out to my boy Corgi, the best card in the entire set, hands down, in my opinion. He's so cute.
Again, with these amazing little toss-ups or these dunks for me here. Yes, Corgi is fantastic, but that's besides the point. It's all about Blade Wing. It's the first Blade Wing with a booty.
Doesn't have 1,000 defense.
He finally has a booty. Oh, he finally has some legs. I don't know, like, ends up going to quad. Been waiting for that for a while. Oof, it's nice.
I'm a Dragon Emperor Legend or
no.
whatever. I don't know.
No, he gives himself quad if you have another
Quad attack, because why not?
Well, we already had triple attack. We can't do it again. And then he draws you 2 cards.
I mean, I think the key thing also is all of the dungeon decks got specific good support.
Whoa.
Yes?
Whoa.
What?
Not all.
Traps. Who else didn't get support?
Oh, you know. A. B.
Oh, no.
C.
Oh, no.
Z.
If Ozins had gotten support, I would have lost my mind. My Ozin deck has been sitting at home untouched for the past 2 years as a time capsule.
Mm-hmm. Too bad it only specified 100, so that would never happen anyways, so it's all good.
But yeah, you get tons of crazy good generic support. You get new generic staple cards. What is it? Iris? No, Lilac.
Not Lapis. Something Iris, yes.
Lilac Iris, I think the name is. I'm totally winging that. I don't know.
Sure, that sounds about right.
Crazy card.
Sounds about right. I actually don't remember what it does, but I know it's going to be good.
Let me tell you. I'll pull it up while you stall.
Oh, I got to stall. I got to think. I'm a little upset that Kazane didn't get a retrain at all. That's a little upsetting. I kind of wish he got a retrain because that would have been awesome. Dimension Dragons just got their life version of Disturb Hand and Ranma. You now have second Garga in Yuga. Did I stall long enough for you? Do you need me to keep going?
So it's Iris Lilac, and you drop a soul, counter gauge, or not gauge, counter check top 3, put 1 to hand, rest to gauge. It's super easy to use, and a lot of decks are going to benefit from it, and it's kind of crazy. You're just going to have to fight with Star Dragon players to get your copies, and also with... Oh, come on, man. Come on, I led you into that. What's next?
Folktale?
No, we already did that. Something big and hungry.
100 Demons, come on now. Thinking I'd forget about my boys. Oh, jeez, this 100 Demon support. Oh, it's delicious. Like, we get a fantastic Haigakugan support card. Well, 2, but we're going to talk about the spell first just because I understand this isn't supposed to be the whole set preview and all that, but, oh, gosh. I'm going to return 20 cards from my drop zone back into my deck. That's all that really matters. I don't care about the rest of the effect, even though the rest of the effect is good. Just having that. Actually, it's 20 or more, so it's even better. So, oh, delicious.
100 Demons being not only meta, but meta in 2019 is like legitimately.
What a year to be alive.
They are going to be tier 1. They're one of the top decks of the format. And anyone who doesn't see that, you'll learn. They're really, really ridiculously good. It's kind of amazing that they're going to be tier 1 for the first time ever. What, 5 years after they came out? maybe 4 years.
Buddyfight's been out for 5, right? Or are we on the 6th?
6-ish.
6-ish.
Getting close.
Getting close. So it's still technically 5. So 4 years.
4.5.
Sure, we'll go with that. It's gonna be amazing. The new Yami Ghetto is brilliant. What else? What else about that set can we say? Besides, it's just a landmine full of money. I think this is gonna be the next like major set that's gonna sell well.
Oh yeah.
After what was it? The first set of Ace. I can't remember. Gargantua Awakened. There we go.
That's the one.
There we go. If I got my numbers right, it could be another set, but oof. I think this one's going to be a big one as well.
I agree. And we haven't even gotten to what's become the elephant in the room. That being
September 27th,
Hey.
day before Houston.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Oh, we
Not-
weren't.
not
we
that.
weren't. We
No,
weren't
no, no.
go- Oh,
Not
we
there
weren't.
yet.
Oh,
We haven't talked about Star Dragon World.
my bad. Hold up. Wait a minute.
Okay. So I mentioned earlier, Prism Dragons seem to be the deck everyone's afraid of, but honestly, you need to be worried about every Star Dragon World deck because they all got.
What are you
crazy
talking
amounts of
about?
Support.
Hold on. Back it up. Don't lie. The best Star Dragon World deck did not get supported.
Cosmo Dragoons. Now you were just waiting for that variable chord support, right?
What variable? There was no support for him either.
Right.
Zodiac. We'll start with Zodiac.
Okay. Zodiac.
I can handle Zodiac.
I've been straight up telling people for weeks now that Zodiac is literally the best deck of the format and will be format warping tier 0.
But on that note, it is a little weird that Zodiac did get support in here, especially with the whole emphasis of it being 100. If you know what I'm saying, like the whole concept was it's 100 stuff being supported. We got a triple D archetype, and they also said Mel, so we'll toss that to the side.
Just a bunch of random stuff, I guess. But
Right.
it's good stuff.
And then technically Prism Dragon's getting support, even though they weren't in 100. Like,
Well, it's, I guess, just more generic for support for those worlds that I guess
but
needed.
but you see where I'm going though, right?
Yeah, I think
They kind of made the whole selling point of the set in Japan was it's 100 and Mel. Kind of like on the picture, well, at least on Iris Lilac, it's Bolt, Mel, Kazane, and who's the fourth? Who's the fourth character on the card? There was 4 characters on the card.
I was not following our count.
Right.
Tsuku.
Oh,
Also, I love how they're like reusing the character designs of all the characters as kids, because now that the anime doesn't exist, they don't have to make adult versions of them. But it's really weird because you get like Kazane and you get Bolt or Ikazuchi, whatever you want to call them, and Tsuku as kids hanging out with Mel on a random card with a Photoshop like crappy MS Paint background. That does not look good. I'm going to straight up say that some of the cards in this set, their art is terrible because they're just character on background, and it's really boring. And like Iris Lilac is one of them, and I really wish they could have used this as a chance to like throw on like a adult version of Kazane or Ikazuchi, and they didn't. And I mean, we already have an adult Tsuku look, and they didn't use him. Instead, it's Kid Tsuku in his Triple D outfit?
I don't know. That's all I could say.
It
It is very interesting, to say the least. And then what we got? We're in Prism Dragons right now, right?
Prism Dragons are going to be good,
Yeah.
but they already were good. And they've been consistently getting good support. I think Prism Dragons are going to be high up in the tiers. I think Zodiac's going to be even better, honestly. And I think Astros are actually going to be good because they can use the generic support from this really well. Jackknife.
What?
Jackknife was the least interesting for me. I mean, they get their own 5 damage nullify that's essentially free and easy to use, but like
Nullify?
Or not nullify, impact, sorry. I don't know why that can't be nulled impact.
Or revived.
That's free and it's kind of BS, but like I think they're getting overshadowed by the other decks in this set. I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me why I'm wrong on that, but I think like if I think I'm gonna play Neo Dragons, it's gonna be Zodiac. Especially since like all the good support that Jackknife got in this set can be used by Zodiac, so why wouldn't you?
This is very true.
Yeah, but Prism Dragons. I've played Prism Dragons in the past, and I've kept up with their support since X, and they've consistently been good, and they're going to be great. What I love is when the new Athora in the set was revealed, people were like, oh, that sucks. Guess Prism Dragons aren't going to be good. And I'm like, but the one thing they didn't need was a new Athora because their Athoras were broken. It's the rest of the deck that needed help. And look what they got. So good luck if you don't have Gemologist, guys, because those are going to hit $20 a copy.
Good point. Good point. What else is there to talk about?
Oh, actually, I do want to have one last thing about that. If you play Zodiac in Legend World from this point on, you're doing something wrong. Because literally the best card in the deck is the Dragon Force, and you need to be able to search it, and you got tons of great searchers for it that are Star Dragon World exclusive. So don't play Legend World Zodiac.
Seems fair enough, but isn't there enough draw in Legend World to overcome that?
Maybe.
All right, so I think that basically wraps up Blazing Over Clash, right? What did you say? Or is there another obscure thing that I'm not thinking of right now?
I think I have one last point on the general effect of this set. Rather than
Besides that, it's a Grand Slam that
It's a
breaks
Grand
the game
Slam.
over.
It is going to slow the format down considerably. I think 100 Demons, between 100 Demons, Zodiac, and Prism Dragons alone, you've got 3 decks that do much better at slow burn and just making the game draw out to a point where it's gonna be kind of ridiculous. Also, Electro Deities are gonna come back and they're going to make you go to time.
Oh God, don't remind me of that, Miko.
So we are looking at a much slower, more control-based format. And because of that, you might want to rethink what cards you're going to be running. Also, like your sideboard options are going to be a lot different. Also, if you're thinking about playing a size 3 deck, forget about it. Just don't do it because you're going to fight 5 Star Dragon World decks in a row, and they're all going to have Antimatter Cloud.
But Zodiac's a size 3.
That is true.
Athora's a size 3.
But at least they got spell walls. Yes, I know it is ironic that that the world can hurt itself, but like I feel especially bad for all the size 3 decks that are outside of that world because they don't have crazy broken support, and they also straight up lose to a card that every single Star Dragon World deck is going to be running. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I guess it's time for September 27th.
September 27th. Tell us about it. What happens then?
Release of Bang Dream Girl Band Party Pico. Or Star Pico, my bad. And then Houston's right after that.
Is it the same weekend or the week after?
Nope. Same weekend.
Okay.
Starts on the 28th.
And Houston's another really big regional.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be exciting to see what happens. Though,
If anything actually happens from it,
yeah,
since it is a crossover set.
let's start with that. I do think it's going to see a lot more niche being, 1, a crossover set, but 2, being cutesy.
Mm-hmm.
Waifu-y, but not waifu-y because like they're
Lolly.
looking
for?
Oh, he used the L word.
Oh, no.
It has more niche appeal. Like Conan, if Conan was the format warping set, people would, hold their nose and they'd play it, right? I think the people who are strongly against the Bang Dream set won't play it ever, regardless. Do you feel that's true?
Yeah, and I think that's true. I don't think it has the same effect as Conan, because Conan at least was viable right away. I could be wrong. I haven't really looked at the cards that much to even like give a good opinion on it. I just have a feeling that, at least in America, I don't know about the rest of the world, that it's going to be one of those hard failing sets. We're going to just come from the best set that Bushiroad has ever done to maybe the worst set they've ever done.
Shots fired.
That's just what I'm saying. I could be wrong. If I look through Bang Dream and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, no, never mind. This is actually all totally broken stuff, but who knows?
Actually, it's really weird because it's split between the different bands. So for Conan, it was essentially split between two things. I think there might have been a third, but two really.
No, only two. You
the
had
villains and the heroes.
Yes.
Right? For this one, it's what, 7?
Oh, geez.
7 bands, I think. Can someone fact check that for me? I am not a Bang Dream fan. Is it 7 bands? All with their own different play styles. So essentially, when you're building a deck, you're picking your band you're allegiant to, and then throwing in all their generic Bang Dream support. I see a lot of people running a second, like picking 2 and running the second one mostly in the sideboard, because there are very few counter options and sideboard choices for the deck.
Again, because you have no access to generic world.
Mm-hmm. So I think if you do fight a Bang Dream player and they're playing one of the play styles, don't be surprised if they switch it up against you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be good, but not amazing, because the big difference here is people are talking. I was having a conversation on a Discord server about this, how the set was very, very successful in Japan. Tons upon tons of Bang Dream decks did well. And I argued that was for 2 reasons. One, Bang Dream is very, very popular in Japan, so more people were playing it than will be here.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, that came out before our Star Dragon World, Dungeon World, 100 Demons set there. Whereas here
Did it also come out before the Thunder Empire?
I'm not sure on that one. But here it's flipped. So I think it's going to have less success than it did otherwise. So I don't see them being all that great, but they're going to be good. What do you think?
I already gave my opinion. Why do you keep lobbing up these horrible passes?
No, I'm just saying, what do you think of my theory that they're going to do worse because the sets are switched?
Oh, okay. That's what you get.
Yeah.
Probably. It's most likely what's going to happen. Who knows? It might not even make a difference. But, yeah. So I think what we should do next, even though I know it's been a long stream, let's talk about the decks that we think have fallen from their graces of Tier 1 and 2.
Interesting. You suggested it. Bring up the first one.
Max Dragons.
Max Dragons. What's stopping Max Dragons?
Fortress Wall. Besides that.
/ end live stream.
It's still a good deck. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's just the threat of Dimension Dragons still being at full power that's going to keep Max players kind of hiding.
I think that's part of it, yes. I also think they're still going to be pretty relevant in the first of the 3 formats because there just isn't much to take up that spot that they have. But once Blazing Overclash comes out, I think they're going to have a lot less success. One, because there are going to be way more antimatter clouds running around.
That first.
And 2, because a lot of those decks will be able to handle it better if they're going first. They can set up their Athora that's indestructible and has all these defenses and blah,
Actually,
blah,
that's
blah, blah, blah.
that's a great question right there that I came up with. The interaction of Calling Size 3 Antimatter Cloud. Would you have the option to use your negate? Or will it not have the option?
Yeah, you'd be able to.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Wait, no. No, because it wouldn't have entered the field. Unless you're doing it on, like...
You're countering them. We'll talk about that more off,
later.
off,
We don't have
because that's a very interesting point.
I think the weirdest thing for me, I want to say, is one of the decks that's going to fall off isn't a previous deck. It's a current one, and that's Demon Dragons. I think Demon Dragons are going to be really, really good at, well, not really, really good. Like, really good at first when War of Dragons comes out, and then they're going to plummet hard. Again, because their best monster can be nulled with an Antimatter Cloud, but also because you have things like Prism Dragon that can very consistently deal burn damage. And not every game are you going to have your item equipped to deal with the burn damage or other counters to it. Plus, any deck that can have can't be affected by damage, effect damage, is going to be a real hindrance for them because it's very much going to be a closed center format after Blazing Overclash comes out. So I see that if you're looking to play in more than one regional event, which I know is not everyone, it's actually kind of rare, but if you are, that is not the deck I would be buying.
Okay. Astro Dragons. I think they're going to be falling from graces soon. Yes, they'll get access to all the great cards as well, but loyalty is still a thing, and it hurts them so much. I don't know if you agree with what about that, but I think Astros are also going to slip up.
Maybe, but I feel like loyalty is going to be played a little less.
What are you
Maybe.
talking about?
I don't know.
Legend Dragons.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. Legend Dragons.
I think it depends on how good prisms are. Because
What does it have to do with anything?
I feel like the traditional 3 or 4 copies of loyalty is going to drop to like 2 for a lot of people. Another really interesting thing is I think we're at the point where Chess Break might be booted out on most sideboards because there are more important cards needed to be run. So decks that
I think it's going to get flipped on that if prisms are the thing, because they run set spells to keep everything going.
But those can't be moved. Like Mirror Valley just stops all of that. So it makes Chess Break a brick. Just does nothing.
If they have it. It's your turn to name off a deck.
Oh shoot.
So you should probably be on yourself.
G Evo. I don't see you seeing
I disagree so strongly.
Okay, let's get into this then. I don't see G Evo seeing much play. One, because the deck has not received much support, particularly because they're focusing on the other styles, I guess we can say, for Garga, but also because you have several very key cards that can shut out the deck. Your what's it called? Fortress Wall being one of them. Yeah, that hurts. And now that's not going to happen every game, but that's something to consider. Plus, even if your deck can multi-attack a ton of times, Prism Dragons can just go, yeah, I've got 20,000 defense. So
I'll just say I have a lot of power.
14 souls, and also you can't deal me damage, and also my things can't be destroyed by card effects. Like, they're not going to do well, I don't think. What do you think?
I think they're going to be just fine. I think they're going to be able to have enough power to handle Athora. Yes, Fortress Wall is going to be a problem, but I don't think it's going to be too big because you're still going to have great players piloting the deck, so they'll know how to get around it and how to deal with it all at the same time. I think they're still going to be decent. They're not going to be as good as what they once were, obviously, but they're not falling out of like tier 2 area.
Maybe. I guess we'll only know.
We'll have to wait
Right.
until find out.
You got another one?
Another one. Shadow Shades.
Yeah, you're right. I'm the Shadow Shade guy, and yeah, you're right. They just haven't received any support, Like, not even Shadow Shade support, because that's not what matters. It's generic Magic World support that matters, or even generic cards that can be run, and they've gotten diddly. So, like, they were great as a counter meta choice last format, but they just haven't gotten any gas, and they're not going to be playable. I'm going to pick one. Godpunks.
They were in the meta before.
Sort of. Recover
With the exception of Speed Robo's deck. I don't think Godpunks were out there like
well,
that.
I think at the beginning of Ace they were very, very high tier, and then they had their slip already.
Hold on, wait a minute.
But
Back-
they're going
back-
from
hold
like
on.
tier.
I gotta hold you up. Who's
3.
saying rest in peace, Link Dragon Order? We still out here. We still strong. We not getting stopped. We out here.
They're gonna fight Prism Dragons, and neither one can kill the other, and then the LDO player wins because they're at like 6,000 life.
No, LDOs will be able to kill a Thora. Easy. Plus 2,000 for each card in Soul.
Well, that doesn't matter as much. I don't think it's the most important thing with a Thora isn't the having too much defense. It's how controlling they are. And what I love is when people point out one specific card that makes Prism Dragons broken. No, that's not what Prism Dragons are about. They've never been about that. They're about every card in the deck working together to completely stop the opponent. It's never about one card being broken. It's about all cards being at least good. And even cards that on paper aren't very good are devastating in Prism Dragons.
All I have to say is go-go. Thora means nothing to me.
I know this really doesn't count because it never was meta, but I'd just like to say Genesis Dragons. Because the deck came out, didn't see any play, and won't see any play, and has no future support incoming, so... and I'm saying that as someone who plays Genesis Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Sucks to suck.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about you. Just to make sure that's clear.
Thanks, buddy.
Anything else? Can I think of anything else?
What's EC's position? Pretty popular deck from the last format that turned out to not be not bad, just not as good as people thought maybe. Like they were good, but not
their
great.
problem was more people realized, oh, they need me to interact with me. So I'll go into attack phase, they get their one thing. I'll attack maybe once or twice. They might get a few more things, and then I go into final phase before they can get anything crazy out.
Right. I mean, general rule of thumb is decks that rely on the opponent to do things don't tend to do very well competitively.
Which is very sad because if decks were more interactive or more we don't care what you do type mentality, ECs would have been fantastic. They would have done so much, but it's sad to say, but yeah, that's basically what's going to happen to them.
Okay. So they might see a little bit of a bump up just because of the fact that the meta is slowing down a lot. But even then, yeah. Do you got anything else, or are we wrapping up?
What else do I have? Let's see here.
Well, how
Make
about
sure to... Oh, okay.
Oh, I was going to open it up for the chat if they wanted to ask us real quick about a specific archetype.
All right, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's see what y'all got. Let's see what you got.
So yeah, if you let us know what archetype you want us to real quick rapid fire review for you. If not, we'll be done in a minute or two. So yeah. Until then, I'm gonna say that I'm really excited for regionals. Like I think I'm always excited for regionals, no matter the format. So it's always fun. even the bad
Curse
formats
dragons.
I've had. They're going to be pretty consistently good, in my opinion, like from start to finish for the meta season. They're going to do pretty well beforehand just because they're a good deck still, and they've got the resource gain to keep up with some of the other decks out there. About the same spot they were in when they came out. Like, nothing's really changed one way or the other. And then I think they might actually get better once the meta slows down a little bit with Blazing Overclash.
Sounds about right. That's basically how I feel. Let's see here. Then, TBS is still going to be solid. They are going to be a nice control deck. They are just going to thrive once Blazing Overclash comes out. I don't think anything's going to stop them.
I feel like they're going to be really good in most matchups, but they're going to end up with, like, I'm not sure exactly which matchup it is, but 1 or 2 matchups that are just really terrible for them. But, like, everything else they'll do really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe it's Prism Dragons. I don't know. Maybe it's Zodiac. I don't know.
Electro Deities. They're still basically Dimension Dragons 2.0, in my opinion. That's basically what they are.
That Miko is kind of
And
nice,
then
though.
they basically become Life Tanker.
Oh my gosh, they're going to gain so much life.
We already talked about Angel Dragons. That's EC's Imperial Core.
Yep.
Let's see. Dual Golems. I think I saw Dual Golems.
Mill.
Well, I saw Dual Golems first.
Dual Golems, we talked
Dual
about.
Golems. We did talk about them, but we didn't really talk about them. You know what I'm saying? If the new Draw Golem ends up being as amazing as it is, it still has one major thing that's going to stop it. It's the whole fortress wall, stopping them from calling stuff to keep him going. Otherwise, like a decent Lost Road booster. Mill. Which mill? I want to be a little bit more specific because we can't just talk mill in general.
I don't know. I think it's fair to try and talk a little in general because
That's
we
hard
got
to say.
3 mill decks, really, right? There's Black Dragon Mill, there's DVDs, Dark Venom Swamps, and then there's Zeta Mill, right?
Dark Venom Swamps. You know, it's Dark Venom Dragons. Right?
Yes. Sorry. So I'd say those are your 3 mill.
He specified
decks.
Black Dragons.
Okay, Black
Yes.
Dragon Mill. Not.
It was kind of surprising when we saw like lists for it, like actually topping, and then Overturn got hit, which really surprised us. I think they're gonna fall a little bit, but they're still gonna be kind of sneaky, and they're still gonna like be a thorn in people's.
I think it
sides.
depends on that one generic card that might come out that counters milling.
Yes, depending if
we don't have a confirmation on when we're getting that, but if, let's say theoretically, we do not get it the entire format, I think they'll do really well, especially in that Blazing Overclash time. Because
I gotta do something real quick. Just throw it on me real quick. Sorry for the late fist bump. All right, you can go back.
Because I think Prism Dragons, their biggest weakness is the worry of deck out already. I think even 100 Demons, depending on how they get played, could have some issues with it. Sure, they got cards that they got their card that
fantastic
can return everything, but they have to have that in hand. You know,
Right.
I think it's decent, but my argument isn't that Mill's bad; it's that Black Dragon Mill's bad. Because, in my opinion, they're the worst of the 3 mill decks right now. I think DVDs have the best raw mill power of the 3, and I think Zeta Mill has a big step up because it has access to spell nulls and monster nulls that the others don't, which I think is really important if you're trying to play a mill deck, that you are able to stop their counters to your mill deck.
I would flip Black Dragons in DVDs, in my opinion, but that's besides the point. Let's see here. G-Craft. It's your basic hyper aggro deck. There's nothing crazy about it. It's Garga.
You could replace that with any of the G-Moose. Like the G-Boosts suck.
Exactly.
They're just generic aggro. They'll do fine meta-wise, but they're just uninspired.
In question, Overturn Missouri, doesn't that counter?
Not if they have
Thora?
Mirror Valley out, because it prevents their cards from being moved.
There's your answer. There's your answer.
I think that's a good spot to wrap it up.
I think so too. So, please make sure to subscribe if you are new. Hit the bell so you don't miss out when we go live or throw out another video. Make sure to check out the free-for-all video that was released today, or if you're watching this in the future, released way back then. Follow us on Instagram. Join our Discord if you want to keep talking about this. Jacob is great at it. I know I suck at it. I'm sorry. I work too much. You can support us on Patreon as well. We did say this earlier, but you can support us there. Keep the lights on. Allow us to keep having horrible spending methods. I'm missing something else. Check out the shop. There we go. All links in the description down below. Jacob, any final words?
Yeah, actually, we are trying to make our streams consistent now. So every Thursday in the afternoon instead of random day at the week. So hopefully that goes well. So every Thursday, starting now. Maybe.
Sounds fair. And above all else, stay classy, y'all. Jacob, you gotta be paying attention, man. Come on. What's wrong with you?
Thanks for listening to TCG Buzz. New episodes can be found on tcgbuzz.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. For box openings, deck profiles, and more, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.